This is an actual news story. Sam Altman announced yesterday, quote, on a post on X, that in December, as we roll out age gating more fully and as part of our, quote, treat adult users like adults principle, we will allow even more, like erotica for verified adults. And then after, people were like, hey, what the hell's going on with this? Sam Altman responded just a few hours ago. He said, okay, this tweet about upcoming changes to ChatGPT blew up on the erotica point much more than I thought it was going to, as though he is genuinely surprised by this. He says it was meant to just be one example of us allowing more user freedom for adults. And goes on to say it doesn't apply across the board, of course. For example, we will still not allow things that cause harm to others, and we will treat users who are having mental health crises very different from users who are not. I'm just going to stop right there, Walter, and get your take on this, because I read that line and I say, who the hell is Sam Altman and ChatGPT to determine which users are having mental health crises and which ones aren't?
Oh, they're already doing that. I read a lot of stories about this. They have all sorts of diagnostics. Be very afraid, America, because you're gonna be diagnosed by Sam Altman and ChatGPT without you knowing it. And because I'm privy to things like the Twitter files and my friend Matt Taibbi's reportings on what goes behind the scene at these companies, the file on your sanity or lack of it exists and will be added to, and let's just hope it's never hacked or used inappropriately, which never happens. Now, I hate the word erotica. As a writer, I'm disgusted by it. It's a little better than lavatory for bathroom. It's not much better than exotic dancer for stripper, but it has a sort of aroma to it, one that puts me off. And I wonder what they're talking about, honestly. Are they talking about me making a movie of myself and then sort of augmenting it with, cartoons and partners? Are they talking about me putting in my face and that of someone else who I hope has given me permission and creating some kind of scene? I'm not sure what he's talking about. And it's like hearing, how can I put it? It's like hearing animals fighting behind the door of an apartment. You don't want to open the door. Nothing is going to happen that's good after you open the door. And I can't imagine anything good after turning on the erotica GPT mode.
Yeah, well, I think maybe the only person who can is Sam Altman, but I mentioned Tucker a few moments ago, and people should go and watch his interview with Sam Altman, because I think it's one of the great interviews that Tucker has ever done. He presses on this point, actually, where Altman, in this very post I just referenced, Altman says, quote, "We are not the elected moral police of the world. In the same way that society differentiates other appropriate boundaries, we want to do a similar thing here." But of course, he's already drawing the line somewhere. And this is what Tucker pressed Sam Altman to explain is, where are you deciding is an appropriate line to draw? He said, I think one of their conversations was, okay, so if you're in an African country, are you not allowed to say things against gay marriage in a country where opposition to gay marriage is very high? And Sam Altman had clearly never thought through that question before. So, Walter, it just continues to be puzzling and concerning that they are rolling out these policies with massive implications and consequences for society.
Well, so I read somewhere, and I don't know if it's accurate, that Grok already has such capacities. I've not been exposed to any of it, but the reason I hate the word erotica is, of course, because it's a word for porn. And porn, if anyone is exposed to it or has been in the last few years, is a many-splendored and very dangerous, often very dangerous thing, because it verges on fetishism, and fetishism can verge on violence, and violence can be portrayed as sexy rather than dangerous, and you don't really know where any of those boundaries are. Sam doesn't. He's going to try to lay them down, but he'll lay them down according to what his users want, ultimately. I mean, it's a consumer product. It's not a service of the U.S. government. He wants the damn thing to be addictive. He wants it to be mesmerizing, and he wants it to be easy. And that's what he's in the business of providing. And how that will translate into, quote, erotica, I have no idea. And like I say, I want to find out as much as I want to find out if I can stop the dogfight in the next apartment, because I just feel it's a danger zone. Is it inevitable? Probably.
And, you know, this is with Altman, you just think like he's the one drawing these lines. He's the one making these decisions. He tries to offload them to say that it's society's standards, but the proof is in the pudding, which is the last 15 years of social media that has saturated us. We are literally drowning in political erotica every second of every day now. Everything is porn. Everything about politics and culture on social media is porn. And it's, to your point, it's what the user base, it's what they think the dopamine triggers in the brainstem want.
Exactly. Exactly. If you get behind the scenes with these people, it takes about 5 seconds to realize that they see human beings as biological robots, and they see themselves as button pushers on those robots. And though they talk about morality and they talk about boundaries and that sort of thing, all that is for the regulators and, you know, the moralists in society. What they're really trying to do is get you addicted, keep you addicted, and make your addiction survivable such that you can keep up with it.
Right.
You know,
it's like fentanyl, right? Yeah.
Right. You don't want to kill the customer, but you know, you don't want them getting bored either. And so you have to play this game of enticing them with stronger and stronger come-ons while you do this PR dance of boundaries and limitations.
Yeah, and we can put F5 on the screen. This is a chart from Axios that the headline on the chart is share of articles that were written by humans or generated by AI. And if you're listening to this and not looking at the screen, basically it's outpacing. So right now, AI generated articles, you can see this massive gap until about 2024. So very recently, when it starts to close to the point where now AI generated articles have outpaced human created articles. And Walter, you are a writer. This, as am I. Does this scare you? Because I have to say, I feel like some of the AI stepping into writing stuff is overhyped from my perspective, because the creativity isn't something that can, the human creativity is not something that can necessarily be replicated, but certain things can. What do you make of this?
Well, if you know anything about writing, it has a hard time taking the first person point of view. In other words, it has a hard time pretending that it's seeing things, feeling things, and experiencing things. It can simulate that, but that will always be sort of transparent and corny in its case, if you know it's AI, because you know it didn't happen. What it's good at is pretending to be objective. I'm not saying it's good at being objective or that it writes well, but it can pose as a explainer or a summarizer. And the truth is that most of those articles they're probably including are really boring financial articles, summaries of the weather and things like that, which frankly humans maybe shouldn't even be forced to do at all and in the first place.
We're going to think of it as like the triangle shirtwaist, like you're
Exactly.
over there in the mines writing about the stock markets.
Exactly. But all that being said, of course I'm concerned, because here's the problem. It destroys the language after a while. AI is a leveler and a hollower out of language. It tends to shrink in its vocabulary, studies have shown, and shrink the vocabulary of those who partake of it. And the other thing it does is that thing of making a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox, and suddenly you have a black blob. Well, AI is kind of the opposite. It takes a Xerox of something simple, and then after running it through AI and running the AI article through the AI, it comes up with what they first called hallucinations, but which are also called wild inaccuracies and like implausibilities. So it compounds its own errors and its own imprecision to the point where it just flies off into space. And it's my hope as the editor of County Highway and as an old-fashioned writer who takes a year or more to write a book, whereas really, you can plug that thing in and get one out in 5 minutes. It's my hope that it will collapse on itself like some science fiction monster. And there's reason to believe that it is in many ways. There's a lot of academic study going into this so-called dead internet theory, which is that the whole thing will start to eat its own droppings, basically, to use another agricultural metaphor, until the point it just sickens and falls over.
Yeah, I mean, it's a vivid but useful metaphor. And you're a great novelist, Walter. And I think on the efficiency that drives what ChatGPT or Grok spits out. And of course, then it's going to limit language. Of course, then it's not going to pull in interesting ways from different sources. And I'm just like the Marshall McLuhan theory of the media, when people's interaction with the written word starts to be prompts, which aren't the worst thing in the world, but you're asking this giant machine to explain something to you. And it's pulling all of the different writing from society, and eventually, to your point, it becomes that type of self-licking ice cream cone, or whatever metaphor you want to use. How fast? I mean, what is the timeline on how quickly this could all fall apart potentially?
Well, it's an asymptotic curve, as they say, as the pretentious people say, so that it could happen startlingly quickly. But the bigger problem to me with AI writing is that it has to train on something originally, until it gets to the point
Walter
where
Kirn novels, yes.
Well, yeah. Waiting for that Anthropic check that they promised a few months ago.
You gotta get your masa chips.
I think I got to fill out some forms or something to get it. But I will say this: more and more, I see in journalism, the audience for pieces is not the reader anymore, but the AI. They are installing opinions, and they are installing accounts of events that are orthodox, and they are prepared in order to be consumed by machines, such that they then harden into conventional wisdom. And that is a weird effect that the thing is having, where you go like, they didn't write that article for people to read. They wrote that article for Wikipedia and for ChatGPT to turn into a petrified bone of our future skeleton of knowledge.
Did you know chips and fries were once cooked in beef tallow until the 1990s, when corporations swapped it for cheap seed oils? Now those oils make up 20% of the average American's daily calories and are linked to inflammation and metabolic issues. Somehow, of course, like we were just talking about, all that stuff got sold by people with power as, quote, healthy. But Masa Chips is flipping the script. They use just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. No seed oils, no fillers, just bold flavor and serious crunch, strong enough to scoop guac without crumbling. Snacking on masa is a whole different vibe, and it really is. You feel satisfied, light, and energized with zero crash, bloat, or that gross, sluggish fog. Beef tallow is the secret sauce. It keeps you full and focused, not mindlessly munching, and it is so good too. My favorite flavor, I think it actually might be churro. It's so, so good. If you're ready to give masa a try, go to masachips.com/afterparty and use code afterparty for 25% off your first order. That's masachips.com/afterparty and code afterparty for 25% off your first order. And if you don't feel like ordering online, that is fine. Masa is now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. So stop by and pick up a bag before they're gone.